Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to today's press conference to name our new football coach. We're going to get things started. Ball State President, Dr. John Worthen.
Good morning. This is an exciting day at Ball State University. We're here to present to you our new head football coach. First of all, I want to say a word of thanks to Andrea Seeger, who has conducted an outstanding open search, which I think has produced a number of very good candidates for this important position. John Reno was named chairman of the search committee. I want to thank John, Dr. Richard McKee, who has overseen this process, and all of the people who participated. This probably was one of the most involved searches that we have done in a long time, open forums for all 8 candidates, and I think the process worked very well. And of course, we are very delighted with the recommendation from the search committee and the choice that we are presenting to you today. The Ball State University football program is in very good condition. It is so because of 10 years of our former coach, Paul Shadell. He did an outstanding job. We obviously were sorry to lose him, but it does present to us an opportunity to move the program forward. As most of you know, we have extended our commitment to men's and women's athletics at Ball State, and in particular to the football program. We have been encouraged by, for a number of reasons, but perhaps the most important has been that the MAC Conference has asked those institutions that are not qualifying as Division I contenders, qualifiers, to move ahead to strengthen the football program and particularly facilities. And we're going to do that at Ball State. And we've made a commitment. We're going to do everything possible to move this program forward. And so we were looking for a new head football coach who could help us and provide the leadership for that movement. When we talked about the attributes that we need in a head football coach at Ball State, it seems to me there are a number, but the 4 that I have been particularly concerned about, and Andy Seeger and John Reno and Dick McKee and others in athletic administration, come down to these 4. First of all, we want a coach who is going to emphasize academics. These are student athletes. We want a coach who is going to expect them to graduate, to recruit students who we think have a reasonable chance of graduating, and to do everything we can to make sure that as they move through the program, that academics is emphasized. Secondly, we want a coach who can work effectively with student athletes, who will have their respect, will run a very solid, straightforward, ethical program, a program that has a very high level of discipline in the program. Third, because of the commitment that I've just talked about, we are going to do everything possible to increase the number of students, staff, and faculty who attend football games, and we're going to do everything we can to generate more community fan support. So we want a coach who is persuasive, who can go out there and work on the campus with, in the residence halls and with staff and faculty, and encourage them to be a part of this program. And so we were looking for a person who was interested in and willing to generate fan support. And finally, obviously, we wanted a coach who could play exciting contests. Now, there are, some people think that being a football coach is being an excellent tactician and knowing all about X's and O's, but it's pretty obvious from just these 4 attributes, these 4 characteristics that I've mentioned. A football coach has to be a real Renaissance man. And we think, in fact, that that's what we have found in the person that we're going to present to you today. So I'm very happy now to introduce Andy Seeger, who is going to make this presentation.
I would like to echo the President's comments with regard to the search committee. I felt very pleased with the individuals that agreed to serve on the committee. They're all very, very busy people. And trust me when I tell you that they spent an awful lot of time in this entire process within a 2-week period. And as I mentioned, I'm very pleased with that process. I would also like to thank the university people and community individuals that became involved in the process. I think given what we need and want to do with our football program, it was important for us to be able to have a great deal of input. As the President mentioned, we're looking for an individual with many varied qualities. And Bill Lynch has these qualities and many qualities above that. He has been an assistant coach at Northern Illinois, with the Orlando Renegades, a successful head coach at Butler University, offensive coordinator at Ball State, and most recently quarterbacks coach at Indiana University. He is very, very well respected throughout the state and the region. It's an exciting time for us as we re-emphasize our commitment to the Mid-American Conference. And with Bill Lynch, we're re-emphasizing our commitment to Division I-A football. I'd like now to introduce the head coach of Ball State University football, Mr. Bill Lynch.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Andy, Dr. Worthen. Really appreciate it. You don't know how excited I am to be here. My wife, Linda, and I had 3 great years here and at the university and living in this community, and to be able to come back and be a part of it again is really exciting to our entire family. Our children couldn't come with us today. We thought they'd better go to school, but they're awful excited to have the opportunity to come back as well. I said this when I was at the open forum, and it really is a unique situation when you can come into a football program that has the tradition that Ball State football has. Growing up in Indianapolis and following Ball State football going back to the 60s and their great teams then, and watching them as they grew through the Mid-American Conference, starting in the 70s and winning conference championships in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. There's great tradition here. And all we've got to do is take that to the next level. And it is a time when it's exciting and there's a renewed interest. Great respect for Paul Shadell and the time I had opportunity to work with him those 3 years, and just hope to continue the same type of program he had, bringing in great quality people, get them to go to school, to graduate, to represent the university in a first-class manner, and competing for a MAC championship all at the same time. It's a great opportunity for me to rejoin some what I think are very good friends and some football coaches that I have a great deal of respect for, and certainly looking forward to working with them as we get started here this afternoon. The support staff, and football is such a unique game because it takes so many people. I really think that's why football is different. It takes, you're going to have over 100 football players, and it takes so many people in order to be successful. Sports medicine, equipment, strength training, the secretaries, sports information. You just go all the way around this room. Really appreciate you coming. All the other sports. Football's unique because hopefully we're going to have in our recruitment fine guys that can be dual sport athletes, because I think we need to work together. If you can get a great kid and he can play more than one sport, we'd love to help the other, not departments, but the other sports, and primarily the guys in the spring where there are dual athletes. I think that what we have to do in terms of bringing in these great people is we got to go out to the state of Indiana. I always felt like Ball State had a unique situation in that it's the only school in the state of Indiana that is represented in the Mid-American Conference. And we're going to go out and we're going to sell the state just exactly how important the Mid-American Conference is and what great football and athletics are played here. We're going to have a staff of guys that has a good background in Indiana, which is really what my background is. And we're going to go out and sell this everywhere we can. We'll start right here on campus. We got to get to the students. There's no question about that. There's a lot of them living over there in the residence halls and fraternity houses and off campus, and we got to get them out here on Saturday afternoons to watch us play. We've got to go to the community. We've got to make sure that the people in Muncie feel important and that they want to come out and watch us. We've got to get to the alumni, not only the former football players, but the entire alumni groups that primarily live here in the state of Indiana. And then we got to get into the communities. We got to get them talking Ball State athletics, Ball State football, and get them here on Saturdays afternoons. So that's going to be a big goal of ours. There's no question, in order to do that, we've got to put a football team on the field that's exciting and fun to watch. There's a lot of different ways of winning football games. There's no question about that, and I'll get into answering questions about the type of football I think needs to be played to win the Mid-American Conference. But people want to come watch football that's fun and exciting. And the best way to do that is to get fun and exciting football players. You know, plays aren't always that exciting, but great players are. So our goal as a staff, we're going to go out and continue to get those kind of players that can make plays and make it exciting for all of you. I know that there are very, very good football players here on campus right now, and this is not a football program that's down in any way. So what we've got to do is come in here and with the staff intact and bring a few new faces in, and when the players get back on campus on Monday, we're going to hit it running and right into spring football practice and then next fall and hopefully go after it and compete for a MAC championship. So with that, open it up for any questions and be glad to help in any way. And so wherever we want to start. Ron.
Coach, the MAC more or less has a gun to the head of Ball State on the facility situation. Do you feel at all that same kind of situation, that it's a kind of a gun to the head situation for the new coach coming in?
Not at all. I think that there's so many positives here that, you know, we can all look at negatives, but this place is very, very easy to sell, and I learned that in the 3 years working here. If we get kids on this campus, we're going to be able to sell them. The campus sells itself, the faculty and how they help, the administration. Once we get them here, it sells itself. We're going to have a staff that works hard and recruits, and that's why I think a big emphasis has to be the state of Indiana, and I even said more than that when I was on campus, within a 250-mile range. The biggest thing you get in recruiting is if you can get kids on campus with their parents, you have a great chance of selling them. Because 18-year-old kids come on campus, their eyes they look at sometimes things that aren't all that important. But if you can get their parents here with them, they can keep them a little more focused and realize what they're trying to get out of a college, and the academics and the academic support staff and all the facilities that are positive that a kid's going to spend so much time at while he's here at school. So to let one little issue like the size of the stadium or the color of the bleachers or whatever, we're not going to let that stop us. We're going to take the positives and sell those things, and I don't see that as a detriment at all.
Bill, would you talk about the differences between your teams now as a head coach here and the teams when you were the offensive coordinator here? Is a difference in those two styles?
Well, that's a tough question to answer, other than the fact I probably have to go back to when I was a head coach. And I've had the opportunity to really work for some outstanding people in my career as an assistant football coach, and we learned from all those people, going back to my own college coach and a guy that competed against Ball State a long time, Bill Sylvester. Can't tell you how much I learned from him and his style of football. As an assistant football coach for Lee Corso, I learned another style of football, another style of management that was really has benefited me in my career. To work for Paul Shadell and learn how he runs a football program and the type of integrity and the type of program. And then Bill Mallory, who is one of the best in the profession, has been for a long time. So you pick up and you learn from all those people. But you have to mold that into what your personality is and how you feel. And a lot of it, you know, it goes back to how you were as a player. It's still a player's game, and we as coaches think we control and all this, and that's part of it, and you get a lot of it on television, all that they focus on the coaches so much. But it's still a player's game, and that's the type of program I want to run, where it is you're going to put players out there and let them make plays. But I think that it's a style of football that hopefully is fun to watch because the kids play hard. That they play with a lot of enthusiasm, that people are flying around and getting excited. I think if the players on the field are going to play that way, hopefully the people in the stands will see it the same way. In terms of X's and O's, you know, it starts with defense, and we're going to play good, hard-nosed defense, and you'll hear every football coach in America come up to this podium and say it all starts with defense. And it really does, because if you don't play great defense in any sport, you're not going to win. I do think this. I may be a little bit different. Maybe that goes back to my background as a quarterback. But defense puts you in a position to win. The offense then has to win it. And so you got to score points, and you got to be able to control the football, and you got to be able to move the football. And in order to do that in today's game, you've got to have great balance. And all the good football teams I've ever been around had that great balance. So I'll go back to when I was a head football coach. The best teams we had that when we had success, when we're winning championships, we're teams that, as a goal, I don't know, I don't want to throw numbers around. Statistics can be misleading. But if you can have a football team that rushes the ball for 200 yards and passes the ball for 200 yards, you're going to be tough to defend. And I think that's the style of football that's fun. It starts with you got to have somebody who can carry the football if you're going to run it. And I know there's some really good backs on this campus right now, as there has been the last 5 or 6 years, going back to Parmalee and Kroom and Tony Nibbs and those kind of guys. So you got to have a guy that can carry it, and you got to get the ball in his hands so he can make plays. You got to have a guy who can throw it. And I know there's a couple quarterbacks here that are awful good, and one of them, just looking at statistics from last year, he had 133, passing efficiency, whatever that rate. I can't figure all that out, but I know it's pretty good. I know it was about. He threw more than two touchdown passes for every interception. I know that's real good as well. So I know that's here on campus. So the offensive line, there's a lot of guys back there. So we're going to have an offensive team that's going to have balance. We're going to throw the football. That's my background. I like throwing the football, but I also know that in order to win a game, you got to be able to do both, because you're going to play in a lot of different weather conditions. And my ideal football game, honestly, is that you throw the ball and you do a lot of different things for 3 quarters, and you get in the 4th quarter, and then you play a good, tough, hard-nosed physical game and put the game away. But you got to be able to throw the ball, so if you're behind the 4th quarter, that you can catch up. And I think that way your players always feel like they're in the game. So probably got rambling there with that answer. But that's the kind of game we want to play. The other thing, I think the kicking game, there's no question about how important that is, because that controls field position, and field position dictates strategy more than anything else. And the biggest thing you got to do in special, I really believe this, you got to get good players on special teams. Great players make plays. Just like last year, and get me if I'm not wrong, Scott, punting game and punt returns were 2 of the best in the country. Well, you got a great punter. That's where it starts. You had a great returner. So you got to put great players there. And so we're going to be committed to putting our players on special teams so they can make plays and not holding them out. Always felt like if a guy's going to get tired, he can get tired from a play from scrimmage, because a special teams play is one where the game can be broken open, and whether it's putting guys in there trying to block kicks or guys return them or whatever it's going to be, we're going to put players on the field that can make plays.
I was wondering if you could comment on what was the most intriguing part of this job offer that made you say this is...
The intriguing part, I think, going back to how much we enjoyed being here for 3 years. In this profession, if you have a goal of being a head football coach, which that was the goal of mine, I wanted to be a Division I head football coach. And there aren't that many of them. And when they open up, there are only certain ones that you feel like you have a good fit, where you feel like you could come in and be successful. And I think going back to our experience here before, and knowing the program, knowing the situation, knowing the staff here, knowing the players here, that's what intrigued me. That felt like this was one you could come in and be successful. And none of us want to get into a situation where you don't have a fighting chance. And we got much more than a fighting chance here. We got a great chance to be successful. Maury.
Bill, welcome back.
Nice to see you.
Both the president and Andy talked about commitment as far as facilities for the Mid-American Conference. Has Ball State or President Worthen or the athletic department made a commitment to you as far as facility, and what are you expecting?
No question about it. I mean, anything that guy who wants to be a head football coach, the questions that he'd want to have answered were answered. And I think that we're going to be, very, very competitive with the other people in this conference. And you don't have to have more than the other people. You just got to be competitive with the other people. Then that's when hard work and getting out and selling and finding good people and coaching them and teaching them and getting them on the field, and then that's what it's all about. And that's why Saturday afternoons are so exciting to football coaches, because we're going to spend, I'll probably really goof up my math here, but we're going to spend 354 days a year for 11. And we're going to work as hard as we can all those days in order to have fun on those 11 Saturday afternoons and hopefully get to play that 12th game. But we've got the commitment, and now we just got to go out and put the team on the field so people want to come out and watch us play.
How do you feel about Minnesota, Purdue, IU, some of the step-ups we have on our schedule in the next 10 years?
Great challenge, but I think that, let's go back to what I said before, it's a player's game. And there isn't any question that players are, they're kids and they're 17, 18, 19 to 22 years old. And they want to be challenged. And they all think they're pretty good. And if they don't think they're pretty good, they're in the wrong business, because it gets to be pretty tough out there on a Saturday afternoon. If they're doubting themselves, we're in trouble. But there's no question, a lot of those kids wanted to play at IU or Purdue or Minnesota or wherever it is else that we end up playing. So I think you use that as a motivating factor. Hey, this is your opportunity. This is your challenge. This is where you can go out and prove yourself. And I know Rich has been involved with these games where a Mid-American Conference team has beaten some of the big boys. And I think probably the sense of accomplishment you get out of that, you can't compare anywhere. And I think that's something we sell to our guys. The other thing that's unique about it, really, if you're a Big Ten school or if you're a Southeastern Conference school or from one of the major conferences, you've got to win X number of games in order to get into a bowl. And getting into a bowl is very, very important to that program. Where when you're in the MAC, you got a bowl if you win your league. So your non-conference games, don't knock you out of that opportunity. So I think that's why our conference, all the schools are in the same boat, going out and playing some of the major conference teams. But once you get back into MAC play, you're all playing for the same thing.
Bill, what have you decided as far as coaching responsibilities for the coaches that are here on the staff? Have you
Well, and at this point, we're gonna get together hopefully this afternoon and tomorrow and talk about those things. But again, got great respect for the staff that's here and have worked with them and know exactly what we can do. And then it's just a matter of over the course of the next week or two, filling in with some other quality people that I know will mesh well and have the chemistry it takes to go out and teach the football team. But that's something that we'll get finalized here in the next few days.
You haven't decided on any coordinators yet or anything?
Yeah. I'll point out, I hope Bob Bartolomeo's the defensive coordinator and Rich Spizak's the offensive coordinator. Until they tell me no. Scott Pethel's going to coordinate the special teams.
Bill, you talked about emphasizing Indiana in your recruiting. Do you see the state as an untapped market, or do you see you're going to have to take players from the kids, the schools that are going that are getting the Indiana kids?
What I think is, when you talk about the state of Indiana, when you get into a high school recruiting, Ball State has a great name in those high schools. It really does, because there are so many kids from those schools here going to school. And a star athlete is no different than any other student in the building. If Susie Jones is going to Ball State or Tommy Smith down the street and they come home and they say, yeah, we like going to Ball State, great school, have fun, all this and that. Well, that's a positive reinforcement that they hear about Ball State. So the more positive things you get going, the more it sells. Now, in terms of high school coaches, that's the network that we work in. And so we got to get back into those high schools, and we got to work the high school coaches. High school coaches don't send their players to an X school. They don't, maybe in the old days, they grabbed a guy around the neck and said, you're going to go to Ball State, and off the kid went. It doesn't work that way anymore. But if we get the high school coaches talking positively about our football program and our university, that spreads. And as many positive things that are said throughout this state, somewhere, it's going to click in, and then that's where it all takes, And so, we're going to go out and we're going to, hit the area hard. We're going to make the high school coaches in this state feel very welcome here. We're all in this business together, and a lot of coaching, and a lot of the fun part of it is going out and sharing ideas and clinicking and Xing and O'ing and talking, and we're going to make this place as open as possible that those people feel welcome to come and share ideas with us, and we'll go to them and share ideas and let them know that, we're all in this thing together, and hopefully it'll pay off down the road by getting some of those quality players.
Spring football schedule toward the end of this month. Are you going to be able to open on time, or are we going to look at April?
Oh, we're not, we'll look at that as we go. I don't think that's, the way the rules are set up anymore, when you start isn't nearly as important because you don't have the number of days. So, the big thing is you want to get done in time so the guys have a chance to get ready for their finals and take their finals and not run into that. But, whatever, we as a staff, we'll decide when that is, and we'll get it in. We'll get a lot of good quality work, so not concerned about that. The biggest thing right now is we got to, getting the staff together so we're all on the same page. And once we're on the same page, then the players are going to pick up on that. And my biggest concern is when they come back on campus Monday that they know that we're ready to go and we're for them and we're going to do everything we can to help them be successful.
Any other questions for Coach Lynch? All right. Thanks for coming, and he'll be available for some one-on-ones if you need him.
And to all the community people here I see, thanks a lot for coming. Appreciate your support. Thank you.